I'm sure. And I know there'll be no more tears in heaven. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong here in heaven. 'Cause I know I don't belong here in heaven.
Thanks, guys. And thanks, Shauna, for singing a tough song. I can still remember the little ink footprints of your little baby who died 2 years ago, and doing the funeral, and that little memorial card. Losing a late-term baby is always a difficult thing. So thanks for singing it. And yeah, I thought, yeah, she'll know your name. Little Faith will. And it won't be the same, because it will be perfect. And every chromosome in her little downy body will be perfect. It will, despite the world being not the way it's supposed to be, and things being upside down and messed and broken, be perfect one day. And we will know perfectly. The Apostle Paul writes, "We don't yet see things clearly. We're squinting in a fog, peering through a mist, but it won't be long before the weather clears and the sun shines bright. We'll see it all then, see it all as clearly as God sees us, and knowing Him directly just as He knows us." When Eric Clapton wrote that song, Tears in Heaven, he wrote it in response to his 4-year-old son Connor's death, tragically falling out of an apartment building in New York City a few years back. And the song is obviously a deep expression of a father's agony in facing that kind of tragedy. And it was a song that deeply resonated with people, all kinds of Clapton fans and all kinds of fans who didn't know who Clapton was when they heard it. And the story of that little boy's death just seemed to really send out a ripple effect into our culture here in North America and in Great Britain and the Western world. People resonated with his cries and his questions about what happens after we die, and where do we go, and who will we know. And life for all of us is faced with loss, and all of us will die and will know people, and may have already known people who've died, to face and ask those questions. Time can bring you down, time can bend your knee, time can break your heart, have you begging, please, begging, please. When I read the lyrics of that song and started to study them, knowing we were going to start this service off with it, there's one part of Clapton's words which I didn't understand, and maybe you heard it in the lyrics, that line that said, "'Cause I know I don't belong here in heaven." And he says it a few times. I know I just can't stay here in heaven. I know I don't belong here in heaven. And then later on, I know I don't belong here in heaven. I thought, what does he mean, I don't belong here in heaven? I don't belong here in heaven right now, but I'll be here one day, and there's hope in that? Or I don't belong here in heaven because I don't belong here in heaven, even though a beautiful little innocent boy obviously would. And I wasn't sure what he was saying, and thought maybe he's saying both, because he talks about that song being a song of hope. And yet, he is saying something else through his, I know I don't belong here in heaven. And it rang true as I read his life story through interviews in preparing for the message. At age 9, you see why an event happens that maybe helps explain why he would think he doesn't belong there in heaven. At age 9, his parents, he discovers, are his grandparents. And his much older sister is, in fact, his mother. And his dad is gone. He's off back into Canada and not in Great Britain anymore. And he all of a sudden has this huge twist, this curveball thrown into his life in terms of who he is and where he's come from. And no dad. Dad left. Rejection. Upheaval. Who am I? What am I worth if somebody leaves? In grade school, he was a self-described outcast, a 98-pound, 7-stone weakling. I was the one that used to get stones thrown at me because I was so thin, he said in an interview. Oh, I'd have loved to have been the thin kid in class. I'm thinking, what's so bad about that, Eric? Sorry, Eric Clapton, not about you, John. A lifetime of broken relationships when you read the decades of his story. Broken relationships with bands, where it never really just kept on going for a lot of his early bands. In relationships, in love, just a lot of next relationships. And even in relationship with himself, in his struggle with drug addiction, a brokenness was there. In his early years, especially of stardom, reporters would note this huge humility about who Eric Clapton was, which bordered, some would say and wrote, on almost an insecurity, this sense of like he wasn't worth it. Eric Clapton.